Well, it was worth the trip. 24 hours traveling time from Melbourne, Australia. 11-hour time difference. But seeing the smiling faces of Lord Chaitanya's devotees on Gaura Purnima makes it all worthwhile. 14.5 hours from Melbourne to Doha, Qatar, and then another 7.5 hours from Doha to Cardiff.
Thank you.
We're going to read from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. We're going to discuss Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, and try to get some vision for the inconceivable, incomparable contribution of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we'll be chanting verse 52 of the 4th chapter of Adi Lila, the confidential reasons for the Lord's appearance. Okay, this version, print is small, but I'll try my best. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita can also be considered Srimad Bhagavatam because it has so many verses in it from Srimad Bhagavatam. So as many of you know, you have the preliminary study, Bhagavad Gita, and then the graduate study, Srimad Bhagavatam, and then the postgraduate study. After you get your PhD from Bhagavatam, then there's Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. But we can also chant the traditional invocation for Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Aparam Kashapi Pranayi Jana Vrindasya Kutuki.
Aparam Kashapi Pranayi Jana Vrindasya Kutuki.
Rasastomam Hipta Madaram Upabhoktam Kam Apiya.
Rasastomam Hipta Madaram Upabhoktam Apiya.
Rujam Swam Abhavare Jutam Ihat Tidiyam Prakatayan.
Rujam Samavare Jitiyam Prakatayan.
Sadevas Chaitanya Kritir Atitaram Na Kripa Yatu.
Sadeva Chaitanya
Aparam Kasyapi Pranayi Jana Vrindasya Kutuki.
Aparam Kasyapi Pranayi Jana Vrindasya Kutuki.
The limitless nectarian mellows of the love of one of his multitude of loving damsels, Sri Radha. And so he has assumed the form of Lord Chaitanya. He tasted that love while hiding his own dark complexion with her effulgent yellow color. May that Lord Chaitanya confer upon us his grace. Purport. Text 51 and 52 are respectively Pratama Sri Chaitanyashtaka 2 and Dvitiya Sri Chaitanyashtaka 3 from the Stava Mala of Srila Rupa Goswami. Since the purport mentions text 51 also, maybe you'd like to hear it. Lord Chaitanya is the shelter of the demigods, the goal of the Upanishads, the be-all and end-all of the great sages, the beautiful shelter of his devotees, and the essence of the love of the lotus-eyed gopis. Will he again be the object of my vision? So as you heard, these verses are from the Stavamala by Srila Rupa Goswami. It is our inconceivable fortune to be able to hear such sound vibration, to be able to read such texts and meditate on the most profound conclusions in all of not only the material but also the spiritual existence. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna directs your attention to Mam, unto me, he says. So many persons have a hard time just with that preliminary instruction. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna doesn't describe much about himself. In the 11th chapter, he does reveal his universal form. The whole point being to show that his two-handed form is the ultimate. The universal form, the four-handed form, all depend on the two-handed form, the original form. So Krishna displays that, prompted by Arjuna, to give benefit to the world. But he doesn't talk so much about himself. Who is this Mam, this me that you're meant to surrender to, think of always, become his devotee? Srimad Bhagavatam gives you all the ins and outs of that supreme personality, Purushottama. His name, form, qualities, and pastimes. Right at the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated, Savai Pumsam Paro Dharma Yato Bhakti Ratoshe. Pada Dharma. This is the basis of Srimad Bhagavatam. That supreme occupational duty, a supreme dharma, supreme religion, supreme dharmic principle is that dharma that brings about unstoppable, uninterrupted, and unmotivated, no material motivation, love of the Supreme. So in this way, Srimad Bhagavatam is actually quite non-sectarian. It says Paradharma, the supreme dharma. So, in other words, if the shoe fits, wear it. Here are the symptoms of the foremost dharma. Ahitukiya pratiyata, devotional service to the Supreme without any hetu, material motivation, and no interruption. It is the material motivation that brings about the interruptions. One may engage in some activity for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then switch off and do something else because of material desires to try and satisfy. So it's the material motivations that cause the interruptions in devotional service. No material motivations, no interruptions. So the Bhagavatam is teaching us what is the standard. Otherwise, it's like if you try to buy gold but you don't know what the gold standard is, you'll be cheated. So in this way, Bhagavatam from the very beginning establishes its all-inclusiveness, non-sectarianness. If your dharma that you're following, no matter what you call it, this religion, that religion, this belief, that belief, this metaphysical speculation, that metaphysical speculation, this mystic yoga, that mystic yoga, does it fit the standard? Does it meet the standard that Bhagavatam presents for Paradharma, the supreme dharma? Then you have Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, where the Supreme Personality of Godhead is demonstrating the eternal nectarian characteristics of the spirit soul. Totally lost in glorification, service, and love for Krishna. And tonight, I'm told a more general audience will be present. We'll speak about the reasons for Lord Chaitanya's appearance that are more easily understandable. The so-called secondary reasons or external reasons. One thing to bear in mind is that external or secondary does not mean inferior in terms of quality. Often, sometimes devotees they think like that. Well, Lord Chaitanya's external, secondary reason for appearance was outreach. Therefore, outreach is not very important. So just lock ourselves in the room and relish the confidential reasons. But, according to Mahaprabhu's own instructions, Yare deko tare kohu Krishna upadesh, ama agay guru hoya tare desh. Wherever you go, wherever you meet, teach the science of Krishna. That's my order. That gives you the adhikar, the spiritual potency necessary to understand the confidential reasons for Lord Chaitanya's appearance. You can't just push your way in, crash the party. You can't do that. You have to have qualification. So, yes, the outreach is external in that it's more obvious. Nevertheless, the external is not inferior. Everything about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is sublime. Sometimes there are unnecessary controversies among devotees thinking that there's too much too much emphasis on outreach. That's not so germane, it's not so essential. It's nice, but the real thing is just become absorbed in the inner Leelas. But one has to understand that you take your medicine as the doctor prescribes. For one who dedicates himself, herself, to spreading the glories of Lord Krishna, Krishna is most easily pleased. And when Krishna is pleased, then you get realization, not just book knowledge, repeating like a parrot, but you actually get realization, you get experience. When Krishna is satisfied with your service, then you can get a vision, a darshan of what these books are talking about. So you can't, as we said, push your way into the room. You have to wait to be invited by the mercy of Krishna, which most profusely showers down upon us as the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This day is especially meant for us to meditate on our inconceivably good fortune. Why? After countless births, countless lifetimes, and so many species of life, now we get a chance. First of all, to have the human form. It is true that Krishna appears in every species of life. And his pastimes, when he appears in every species of life, are gauged according to the capacity of that particular species. Don't ask me about the tomato incarnation. The Shastra does explain that every species of life, although that reality is mind-boggling to puny human beings. But when you have the human form, everyone knows human form of life gives you the opportunity for self-realization because of advanced consciousness. But even more than that, the human form of life gives you access to Krishna's Nara Lila, his human-like pastimes. And then there's the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So how is it we are aware of both Krishna and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Where do we get such good fortune from, such extremely rare fortune? So today is a wonderful day to meditate on what happened to us. We were wandering through material existence, accumulating all kinds of horrible karma in the name of enjoyment. We didn't have a clue of what the overall system is, what the inner purpose of life is. Didn't have a clue. And yet, now we have devotional service. In fact, we have this most dear service of, through this way and that way, this service and that service, trying to connect others to Krishna. How did this happen? Today is a wonderful day to meditate on our incalculably rare and sublime good fortune. Sometimes you may feel a little weak in your spiritual dedication. Sometimes you may think you've lost your taste and everything's become same old, same old. But Gaura Purnima is a wonderful day to turn over a new leaf. First of all, there must be gratitude. Even to be an ordinary, ethical, moral human being, you should have gratitude. If someone's done something for you, you express that you're grateful. Certainly, there is no greater object for our gratitude than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. who has given us what no other appearance of Krishna in any shape or form has given. The opportunity to love Krishna purely. As we hear today, Lord Chaitanya is the essence of the love of the lotus-eyed gopis. Will he again be the object of my vision? Lord Krishna desired to taste the limitless nectarian mellows of the love of one of his multitude of loving damsels, Sri Radha. And so he has assumed the form of Lord Chaitanya. He has tasted that love while hiding his own dark complexion. With her effulgent yellow color, may that Lord Chaitanya confer upon us his grace. So this is the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Coming down through Srila Rupa Goswami, through Parampara, to us today. To fully appreciate Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have to realize how contaminated we are by impersonalism and voidism. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashchachadesha. We're so, here's the paradox. Material life has made us so love-starved. People are going crazy because they just don't know how to have relationships anymore. Everything is so unstable and untrustworthy. Everything is so exploitative. The love question is so important for all human beings. The ladies readily admit that. The men pretend that it's not the case. But still, universally, the love question burns with the most intensity. So how is it then that we can deny love in the ultimate reality? So you'll say, well, God is love. Yeah, that sounds cool. God is love. Maybe some of you said that. But what is the significance of that statement? First of all, when you say God is love, you're saying really that God is unlimitedly attractive. So if the Supreme is unlimitedly attractive, because how can there be love without attractiveness? Then there must be relationships that are unlimitedly attractive. Otherwise, what are you going to be attracted to? Of course, Krishna and Dwarka has unlimited opulence. But if the absolute truth is perfect and complete, Om Purnam, there must not only be opulence, but sweetness, Madhurya. Then you have the complete package. So generally, people like to imagine the Supreme, if they think about that at all, as possessing unlimited power, grandeur, majesty. But Chaitanya Charitamrita is taking you beyond that to the most confidential part of the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. And there you find that Krishna loves to come under the control of his devotees in loving relationships. But it sounds a bit strange to us at first. This is kind of mythological, isn't it? In other words, it's too personal. We're so contaminated. We think that supreme absolute truth must be kind of generic, you know. You go to the supermarket to buy some toothpaste, so you want to save money, you don't buy like the well-known brands, you buy like the Tesco brand of toothpaste. You'll save a few pennies, just generic, brand X. So we kind of think that the Supreme Absolute Truth is like that, yeah. Brand X. Yeah. If things get too personal and too relationshipy, how can that be the ultimate? Although that's what we want. But when it comes to the Supreme Absolute Truth, we deny that. Because we're envious. We want it all. Give me loving relationships of all types. We want that, but we deny it in the Supreme Absolute Truth. Therefore, Krishna has his confidential pastimes, his confidential portfolio. And that's what we're hearing about in this chapter of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. The confidential reasons for the appearance of Lord Chaitanya. Because not everyone is qualified to hear this. Yes, everyone can chant Hare Krishna, everyone can take prasad, but not everyone can hear about the love of the lotus-eyed gopis. Not everyone can hear about Krishna hiding his own dark complexion with Srimati Radharani's effulgent yellow color. May that Lord Chaitanya confer upon us his grace. You're hearing about the ultimate love. People are so desperate for love stories, love songs, or they pretend they're no longer interested in that because they've been so disappointed and cheated. Love, who cares about that? It's all a fantasy. That's sour grapes. The fox in the forest sees some luscious grapes hanging from a vine. The fox jumps once and misses, jumps twice and misses, jumps 3 times and misses. So then what does the fox conclude? They were sour anyway. So we're like that. We've been so scarred with relationships that we refuse to allow Krishna to have relationships. And Krishna's relationships are incomparable. To understand Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his confidential portfolio, we need to know that both Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna exist simultaneously. As I often explain, you've probably heard me explain before, it's not precise to say that Lord Chaitanya is an avatar, although loosely you may say the golden avatar. Lord Chaitanya is not an expansion of Krishna. He's Swayam Bhagavan, the original personality Godhead, just as Krishna is. The two exist simultaneously. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that Lord Chaitanya has his own section in the most private part of the spiritual world, just like there's Vrindavan, then Lord Chaitanya also has his section. So the two exist simultaneously. So what determines, if you could ask that question, when Krishna appears as Lord Chaitanya and when Lord Chaitanya appears as Krishna? What determines that? When do you see Krishna and when do you see Lord Chaitanya? And of course, when do you see both? When Krishna wants to feel separation from himself and understand what it's like to love himself, he can't do that as Krishna. He has to take another position. He has to take the position of a bhakta. So he does that as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna wanting to experience love of himself. But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants to be the supreme enjoyer, he doesn't do that as Mahaprabhu. He does that as Krishna. So Mahaprabhu is the supreme renouncer. He renounces everything for the sake of loving Krishna as a devotee. And Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. He enjoys everything. But Krishna as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is concerned with giving Krishna pleasure. So in this way, you get the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Going deeper into the confidential reasons for Lord Chaitanya's appearance, we need to know something about Srimati Radharani. Her love is inconceivable for Krishna. It's the one thing that Krishna can't understand ordinarily. Sometimes people try to pose a trick question. If God is perfect and complete, that means not only does he understand everything, but there must be something he doesn't understand. And that way he's complete. Yes, there is one thing that Krishna ordinarily can't understand. That is Srimati Radharani's love. He can't do that without taking her position. So in that way, of course, Krishna resolves the so-called lack of understanding. That resolution of the inability to understand Srimati Radharani, that resolution is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Mahayanya. Lord Chaitanya is Radha and Krishna combined. He's Krishna whose dark complexion has been covered by the golden complexion of Radharani because he's taken on her bhava, her emotional state, in order to experience what's it like. Because the intensity is incomparable. The intensity of Srimati Radharani's love for Krishna and her relishing of Krishna is beyond what even Krishna can understand unless he takes her position. So here we see relationship dynamics in their utmost perfection, beyond what any human being could speculate. You read this section of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and you could never speculate in anything like this. It is totally divine. It is the appearance of the topmost portion of the spiritual world and the most confidential affairs of the spiritual world. That's Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. This chapter, Adi Lila, chapter 4, I first read in 1975. And I was with the BBT trying to fulfill Prabhupada's impossible deadline. And every time you read it, it's like you never read it before. The depths are unlimited because you're dealing with what is most confidential, most profound. You're dealing with the greatest love. Krishna wants to understand and experience what's the love of his dearmost consort. As Rupa Goswami explains, Lord Krishna desired to taste the limitless nectarian mellows of the love of one of his multitude of loving damsels, Sri Radha. And so he has assumed the form of Lord Chaitanya. Radha and Krishna are the exchange of love. They exist eternally. The one eternally exists as two. And the two, Radha and Krishna, eternally exist as one, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So again, it is not that Lord Chaitanya is an avatar, like the Lila avatars, whatever. Lord Chaitanya is Swayam Bhagavan, the original form of the personality of God. He's Krishna, wanting to appreciate three things, especially as explained by Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami. Ordinarily, it's impossible to understand Krishna, especially his most inner motivations, his most inner reasoning. But through the notes of Srup Damodar Goswami, who was a most intimate associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you get to see Krishna's inner motivations. First of all, as Chaitanya Charitamrita explains, Krishna wants to understand this. What's it like, existentially, to be my topmost devotee? I can't understand that in my position as the subject, the one who is initiating the loving affairs, to the object, Srimati Radharani. I can't understand what her position as the object of my loving designs. What's that like? The only way to understand it then is that the subject has to become the object of the love. Then Krishna can start to understand and experience what it's like to have the role of his own lover. But further, it doesn't stop there. Krishna wants to know, what is she tasting in me? What is that sweetness that she tastes? Obviously, she's having a most inconceivably intense experience, tasting something in me. What is it in me? Krishna is wondering about his own unlimitedly attractive sweetness. And then, thirdly, what is the pleasure that she's feeling? The second one is tasting the sweetness. What's that sweetness like? But the third one is the happiness she feels, the pleasure in loving me. What's that like? To answer those three challenges, Krishna appears as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He takes the position of Srimati Radharani so much so that his complexion changes colors. He's covered with the emotional bhava of Srimati Radharani. So here you have the deepest secret of all existence. Now, while Lord Chaitanya is pursuing that mission, the glories of Srimati Radharani's love, he's taken her position. Simultaneously, he's flooding the universe with love of Krishna. Therefore, we have the most inconceivable fortune of being able to chant the Maha Mantra, engage in devotional service, make the most of our very short life. This is because of the external reason for Lord Chaitanya's appearance. But remember, external does not mean inferior. I remember, you may have heard me explain before, there was a controversy in the Los Angeles temple in 1974, 74. It's when the book distribution boom started in the USA. When devotees first began to make big scores in distributing Prabhupada's books. Otherwise, before then, the books would just pile up in the warehouses of temples, in the basements, because no one ever thought to distribute them. But then some courageous souls ventured out and started distributing the books to the masses. And so, some of these Sankirtan devotees in Los Angeles were saying that the verse you sing in Guru Vastak every morning, Nikunjayuno Raktikeli Siddhaya Yayalibhya Yukti Arpachanya. The spiritual master is assisting Radha and Krishna in arranging for their meetings in the groves of Vrindavan. So some Sankirtan boys were saying, this verse applies to book distributors. They're helping to arrange that the conditioned souls meet up with Krishna again. So a big controversy erupted. Oh, some were saying, this enthusiasm is becoming fanatical. These guys are way over the top. All in the name of book distribution. It's just some kind of trick to get devotees out distributing books. other devotees were saying, this is a logical understanding. It seems a natural understanding. We're assisting Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in reconnecting lost souls to Krishna. It's a confidential task. It's following in the footsteps of those who are arranging Radha and Krishna's confidential meetings in the groves of Vrindavan. So the controversy raged for a while, and then, like everything back then, finally devotees had to turn to Srila Prabhupada because no one could resolve it. I remember because at the time a year later, I was filing all of Prabhupada's correspondence, both letters to him and letters from him, so I got to see both sides. So I saw that letter they were writing. Can you clarify this, Srila Prabhupada? Devotees are saying, Nikunja no Ratikerik Sita, such a high confidential verse. They're saying it applies to book distributors. So no one knew what Prabhupada was going to say. Although the ones who were saying it's an exaggeration to apply it to saying devotees, they were quite convinced Prabhupada will nip this fanaticism in the bud. Then I saw the letter from Prabhupada that he wrote. He said, this is true. Blew everyone's mind. Blew everyone's mind completely. So this shows you that what can seem external actually has a connection to the internal. In this way, Mahaprabhu is truly holistic. Everything works together. Actually, it is, as you always hear on Radhashtami, it is Srimati Radharani who recommends devotees to Krishna. So, by reaching out to reconnect bewildered souls with Krishna, the devotee is actually serving, assisting Srimati Radharani in this most glorious task. You're arranging hookups, and you have no idea how things will turn out. But all you can know for sure is that that person whom you connect to Krishna, even momentarily, that person's whole karma is rearranged, and their life, no matter what their future, their life will never be the same. So we're dealing with such consequences that are mind-boggling. Sometimes you even may tell yourself, I just can't, it's just too much for me, I just gotta forget it, it's just too awesome. On Gaura Purnima, we can face the reality that we are dealing with something that is so far beyond what our mind and senses can fathom, with consequences so far beyond anything you've ever known. We're dealing with love of Krishna, access to Krishna through access to his service. So Lord Chaitanya has taken the position of Srimati Radharani. What does that mean? You see it in action in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Just like during the Rath in Jagannath Puri. Lord Chaitanya, is Srimati Radharani trying to lead the Lord back to Vrindavan? But sometimes Mahaprabhu, in that position, that capacity of Srimati Radharani, would linger behind the Rath cart, letting Krishna know. Krishna is there as Jagannath. Letting Krishna know, I think you have forgotten the residents of Vrindavan. Married men know that sometimes when a lady doesn't feel she's getting enough attention, she does various strategies and protest demonstrations. So Mahaprabhu is in the role of the Supreme Lady, Srimati Radharani. So he allows himself to fall far beyond the Rath car, behind the Rath car, letting Krishna know, who is Jagannath, you've forgotten us. So that produces an immediate response in Krishna as Lord Jagannath. The chariot halts, indicating, I have not forgotten. So in this to and fro competition, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the role of Srimati Radharani, comes out victorious. While dancing in the Rath Yatra, Lord Chaitanya would hear verses recited by Sri Damodar Goswami, confidential verses about bringing Krishna back to Vrindavan. Lord Chaitanya would describe how generally the mind and the heart are one. But in his case, his mind and Vrindavan are one. So for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna in the role of Srimati Radharani, the whole purpose of the Rath Yatra is to invite Krishna back to Vrindavan so that he'll put his lotus feet in the core of everyone's heart. Lord Chaitanya describes his state. Krishna in the position of Srimati Radharani. Some people say the mind and the heart are one, but my mind and Vrindavan are one. Mora mana Vrindavan, Chaitanya Charitamrita says. My mind is Vrindavan. And Mahaprabhu explains that in my mind, all the pastimes of Radha and Krishna are occurring spontaneously. He's showing the utmost bhakti perfections. Beyond, of course, what a limited living entity can experience, even in perfect state. Lord Chaitanya is displaying the utmost potential. My mind and Vrindavan are one. You may recall that when Lord Chaitanya attempted to go to Vrindavan, he never got there the first time. On his way there, thousands upon thousands of persons were following him. Digging up the roads, destroying the houses where he would stay at. How could Lord Chaitanya go to Vrindavan with such a huge, not entourage, but just a multitude, thousands upon thousands of persons trying to get a glimpse of him? Sanatana Goswami reminded Lord Chaitanya of this. It's not good to go to Vrindavan with such multitude. People are so accustomed to seeing spiritual charlatans. They'll look at this big multitude following you around and say, another cheater. Better, Sanatana Goswami said, to go to Vrindavan alone. So Kaviraj Goswami describes that. At first, Lord Chaitanya didn't think much of this. In the morning, when Sanatana Goswami told him, he didn't think much. But by nightfall, Lord Chaitanya began to consider, yes, this is right. This is true. I'm going to go back to Jagannath Puri. So he told the devotees in Bengal, don't come to Jagannath Puri for Rath Yatra this year. You've already seen me. I've come to Bengal. My original intention was to go to Vrindavan, And on the way to Vrindavan, stop in Bengal, Navadvip, see my mother, Shakti Mata, and take shelter of the Ganga. But there's too many people. They're destroying the houses where I stay at night. They destroy the boundary walls around the houses. They dig up all the roads, trying to preserve dirt from where Mahaprabhu has walked, leaving big craters in all the roads. You may think that that's very exaggerated behavior, but I remember as a young kid, my favorite baseball team would always lose the worst year after year after year. They say in the cellar, you have that expression here, in the basement of the league. So always last place. And then after 10 years of that, one year it won the championship. So the whole city of New York went wild. And at the final game, it's American baseball, so I have to call it the World Series, if the world cares. The final game, which they won, meaning they won the whole event. 55,000 people were in the stadium watching. They all ran out of their seats and dug up the earth to preserve it. Caused $100,000 worth of damage to the stadium. So we think, when we read this in Chaitanya's Charitamrita, we think, this is very exaggerated. They dug up the roads, leaving craters. Come on, must be an exaggeration here. But human beings do that. They wanted to preserve the earth from this stadium. They could show their children, I was there. Here's the dirt from the ground of the stadium, and this supreme event happened. So this is going on for Lord Chaitanya. He said, this is no way to go to Vrindavan. He went back to Puri. And he was talking to the devotees. I tried to go to Vrindavan, but mainly I came back because Gadadhar Pandit was so sad. I couldn't do it. Because of his sadness and separation, I had to come back. What was Gadadhar Pandit's reaction? He's the Gadadhar in Panchatattva mantra, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Masti. He said, why do you need to go to Vrindavan? We all know wherever you are, that is Vrindavan. You're always in Vrindavan. Your mind is Vrindavan. Why do you need to go there? But I know you want to do it just to set the example. But otherwise, you have no need to go to Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada points out in that section of Chaitanya Charitamrita that many great devotees, greatest devotees of Mahaprabhu never went to Vrindavan. Sri Damodar Goswami never went. Haridas Thakur never went. Gadadhar Pandit never went. Whole list of these most intimate associates of Mahaprabhu never went to Vrindavan. But still, Lord Chaitanya has stated, our Lord Chaitanya's devotees in glorification of Mahaprabhu and pointing out his core principles. I've said, Arajo Bhagavan Vraja Chaitanya's Tadama Vrindavana. I worship Bhagavan. That Bhagavan is not different from his abode Vrindavan Dham. And of course you may know the rest of the verse. Ramya Kashchit Upasana Vrajavadu Vardena Kalpita. There's no greater method of loving Krishna than that shown by the cowherd ladies of Vrindavan. And Srimad Bhagavatam Amalam Puranam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless Purana. So one of the main elements, components of Mahaprabhu's mission is Vrindavan. Of course, then you have a further secret that Gaura Mandala Bhumi Jeva Chintamani, the land of Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Navadvipa and its surrounding areas is hidden Vrindavan. And the realized soul can see Navadvip Dham, Mayapur Dham in that way. This is a Vrindavan. So there are many mysteries that are so fascinating because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is such a special appearance of Krishna. Remember, he's not even an incarnation. He's Swayam Bhagavan. So the interaction, so to speak, between Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna is quite fascinating. Especially since you are dealing with Srimati Radharani. Because Mahaprabhu is Radha Krishna combined. They are eternally together as Mahaprabhu and eternally separate as Radha and Krishna. So this is giving you some idea of how this subject matter is so fascinating and so incomparably nectarian. So Gadadhar Pandit told Lord Chaitanya, well, no need to lament, you didn't go to Vrindavan, you came back. Your mind is Vrindavan. But in any case, for the sake of instructing others, you want to make that trip to Vrindavan. Therefore, allow us to make one request. The rainy season is coming, Chaturmasya, those 4 months. Just stay in Puri for 4 months. Although you can do whatever you like, we all request that you stay for those 4 months. So Lord Chaitanya agreed. To attain Vrindavan is very difficult. Srila Prabhupada goes to great length in Chaitanya Charitamrita to explain. Even says that there are so many persons in Vrindavan who want to develop love for Radha and Krishna, but it is very difficult unless you go through Chaitanya Nitai. So Prabhupada was explaining why he established Krishna Balaram deities in Vrindavan. He wanted to show the world that there's no difference between Krishna Balaram and Chaitanya Nitai. He wanted to make that message pronounced, let everyone see it. First of all, there was no Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, but more importantly, he wanted people to immediately understand Brajendananda Sakshishu Balaram Advaita. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, Balaram is Lord Nityananda. By going through them, it's feasible, highly possible to enter into Radha Krishna Lila. Otherwise, although many are wanting, very few attain. It's very difficult. So here we see the inner dynamics of the whole Krishna system at work. Ordinarily, we would not even deserve a chance of engaging in devotional service, such as sweeping the floor, or making a garland, or whatever practical service you have around you. You don't stand a chance ordinarily. You're not on the Brahma Bhuta platform when you walk in the door. Oh, maybe some of you. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, Nashochati Nakanshati, Samatsaveshu Bhuteshu, Madbhaktim Labate. Fully realizing that you're spirit soul, you're different from the body, always joyful, Prasanatma, never lamentation, never hankering, seeing all living entities as equal. In that state of consciousness, Krishna says you can begin to render devotional service. So all those who started on that standard, raise your hand. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has broken Krishna's own rules. He's giving, as we say, he's giving the store away. He's giving the bank away. Just take it all. So we don't even deserve a chance to just wash a pot or wash a floor. What makes you think you can just get right up in Krishna's face? I'm going to serve you, so you know me, competent, expert, great. Yeah, I'll do a little service. Krishna's not interested. Even in Krishna Lila, after the Brahma Vimohana Lila, when Brahma thought he had stolen the calves and cowherd boys, and then he realized his mistake in a split second, but that split second was a year of Earth's time. And then to correct his mistake after Krishna totally blew his mind, showing him how Krishna had replaced all the missing cowherd boys and calves with his own expansions. They were all Vishnu Tattva. So after Brahma saw that, his mind was shattered. And he began offering prayers to Krishna. What was Krishna thinking? The acharyas went out. Brahma's offering these magnificent prayers, so deep with knowledge. And Krishna's thinking, who is this four-headed guy? I'm just a cowherd boy. What's this guy talking about? Where are my friends? Where are my calves? We have an opportunity to engage in Krishna's service. We don't deserve it. This is the potency of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We don't deserve, yet we have. Sometimes people like to say, there are no free lunches in this world. Everything's got a price. There's only one free lunch, and that is Lord Chaitanya's mercy. There's no price and no prior requirements. Many of you have heard Srila Prabhupada describing the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu seated in front of Gaura Purnima in Atlanta. And he couldn't finish the lecture. A minute and a half into the lecture, when he was talking about Lord Chaitanya's mercy, his voice just cracked. Tears shot from his eyes like coming from a syringe, and he's ended the lecture after a minute and a half. We have no idea what we're dealing with. As the years in bhakti go by, we start to understand, what am I doing here? What happened? I should be hung in the city, in the center of every city in the world. Attached to, this punishment where they, well, in the old days they would use like chariots, and they would tie a rope to each of your limbs and attach it to, a bunch of chariots, and all the chariots would take off in different directions. Now you can imagine doing that with cars. 4 cars, and a rope from the car to your arm, this arm, that leg, and all the 4 cars take off in different directions. We deserve that kind of fame. Yet we have the opportunity to engage in the greatest miracle, which is Krishna's service. And we have an opportunity to distribute that service to others. We're dealing with the inner file, the pulp, the inner sanctum, Lord Chaitanya's mercy. He's Krishna himself. wanting to experience the love of his dearest devotee. Because of the intensity of Srimati Radharani's love, Krishna is bewildered. I've never seen anything like it. I can't understand it. So he appears in her position. There, the affairs of Mahaprabhu, just as the affairs of Radha and Krishna, are completely the internal energy. They have nothing to do with the external energy. Mahaprabhu is showing how love of separation, viraha bhava, is even more intense than meeting Krishna. It's not simply that Lord Chaitanya came to taste love of Krishna. He came particularly to taste love of Krishna in separation. And that's what the last few chapters, especially of HH Lila, are all about. We have so much to rejoice about on this Gaura Purnima. The external reason for Lord Chaitanya's appearance is enough for endless glorification, and the internal purpose for his appearance is enough for endless glorification. Gratitude is shown by pleasing the one you're grateful to. So we want everyone to have a chance to connect with Lord Chaitanya's mercy. We accept that ordinarily it is very difficult, if not impossible, to be Krishna conscious. We agree. But because of Chaitanya and Ty, Krishna's own rules are broken. And as Chaitanya Charitamrita says in Adi Lila chapter 7, the Panchatattva broke open the storehouse of love of Krishna. The more they dance, the more the flood increases. This doesn't make sense materially. I remember another incident. I'm sure Prabhupada visited Atlanta. The devotees staged a play for him in the temple room, and it was about the Chankazi. Trying to disrupt or impede the Sankirtan parties. So the official Hindus of Navadvip had gone to the Mohammedan government, the Nawab, to complain. He read it in Chaitanya Charitamrita. They told the Nawab that Nimai Pandit is ruining the Hindu religion by his public chanting of the Harinam. The potency of the Harinam will be decreased. As soon as they said that, Prabhupada broke into the drama. Potency has already increased. The actors in presenting the Leela had said Krishna. Nimai Pandit is ruining the potency of Krishna's name. Prabhupada just heard Krishna, Krishna. Potency's already increased. Someone said Krishna. You see, the holy name is increased. We don't know what we're dealing with. To chant with that kind of realization. But all this is in store for us. You dedicate this short life to Lord Chaitanya's service. You cannot conceive of how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will reciprocate with you for your tiny attempt at service. So let us remember the confidential reason for Mahaprabhu's appearance. the three things foremost in Krishna's mind. What's her position like? What's it like to be in her shoes, so to speak? The object of love. I'm the subject of love. I'm the one who initiates the loving affairs focused on the object. But what's it like to be the object? The one who's receiving all that. And what is she tasting in me? And what's the happiness she feels? This is the completeness of Bhagavan. He wants to know what it's like to be his own lover. So where else can you find such a conception, theistic conception? Such completeness. Where do you find it? The perfection of relationships that we all long for. Such a perfection that the Supreme wants to be his own devotee and taste what it's like. In this way, what we have is unfathomable, but by the mercy of the Panchatattva, we have access to such confidential parts of the spiritual world. So today's verse again. Lord Krishna desired to taste the limitless nectarine mellows of the love of one of his multitude of loving damsels, Sri Radha. And so he has assumed the form of Lord Chaitanya. He has tasted that love while hiding his own dark complexion with her effulgent yellow color. May that Lord Chaitanya confer upon us his grace. From Rupa Goswami's Stavamala, quoted in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. All right, any questions?